Hey there, this is Wendy with loveandstamping.com. I'm excited that you're here with me today because we are going to make a peony flower, or peony, depending on how you want to say it. So this is a die set that came with the prized peony bundle, and I think it's gorgeous. I had not made one until now, so I'm super glad I did because it was way easier than I thought it would be. So you use these dies that I have here on the screen, and they all layer together super, super easy. But I wanted to show you a few tips and tricks so that you could put them together very easily. And if you don't have this set yet and you want it, I would love it if you purchased it from me. The link is below the video to purchase any of the products that you see here today. Okay, so I've inked up my sponge with the Petal Pink ink. And this is Petal Pink cardstock, and I'm going around the edges and inking them. The finished flower that I already made that's sitting in the right corner there has no inking on it, and you're going to see the big difference this makes when you do go ahead and ink it up. Now, this could be done many, many ways. You could use white cardstock and spritz it. You could use markers and color the edges. You could dip the edges in Versamark ink and then heat emboss in a color or gold or whatever you wanted to do. You could do these in black and heat emboss the edges in white. Really, the possibilities are completely endless. You might notice the colors I'm using are familiar. They are the colors from Color Splash 9. So this is soft seafoam that I'm using here, and I'm using soft seafoam ink around the edges. And then I've got shaded spruce for the outer edge of the leaves. And then for the center of my peony, I have basic black. So really, honestly, either one, whatever color combinations you use are going to be beautiful because this is such a gorgeous set. But I personally wanted to use the Color Splash Challenge video colors because I think it's fun to show you multiple projects using the Color Splash inspiration. You may have noticed that that is what I've been doing lately, making multiple projects using different product, using the same color combos. That is going to continue. I love it. I think it's really fun. It challenges my creativity. Okay, really quick, here we go. The easiest way to assemble these is to take the smallest piece and tuck it into the next smallest piece. And at the bottom, you will see the cut is the same. So you can line up the cut of the bottom with each other. And when you do that, you're going to have the flower be perfect. So I line them up first, and then I just kind of pull them apart a little bit, take some of my Tombow Mono adhesive, add it on the bottom there, only on the bottom, and glue it. And we're going to do that with each layer. And there's only 4 layers, so it's not really difficult and it's not very time consuming. It's incredibly simple. Then the thing that will give this a lot of oomph and dimension is folding down all the little pieces towards you so that it kind of gives the illusion and look of layered leaves, or petals on this peony. Okay, and then we're going to tuck this one inside the next one, glue it down, so on and so forth. So I have plenty of time to have a fun story time with you because this is time consuming doing the project that I'm doing. It's not hard, it's not complicated, it just takes a little bit of time. So I thought it would be fun to continue from my last story time, but I'm gonna have to give you a little tiny bit of an update in case you missed that video. So in the last video, I kind of rambled about a million different things. And one of the things I talked about was our big Costco haul. And what I didn't get into was some of the stuff we've been doing since like April. So when the pandemic hit, my husband and I sat down and had a very serious conversation about our preparedness level for any sort of natural disaster. So I want to preface this by saying, this is not totally due to the pandemic. It's just the pandemic opened our eyes to realizing how unprepared we were for a major event. So I live in California and there are earthquakes. They happen. Now, where I live is not near a fault line, and honestly, I've never felt an earthquake in my life. That doesn't mean we couldn't have a massive one and it would affect us. So a lot of times when earthquakes happen, there's no power, no food, or no power and no water, because a lot of times it breaks pipes and causes lots of problems. So you run into losing kind of everything. So we have made some pretty drastic decisions. So, okay, let me back up even further back as I sit here and glue. You may be completely bored with this video, but I have some good tips for you, so hang with me. So, in the state of California, we have wildfires. Oh my gosh, this is funny. So here I'm like, why doesn't this piece fit with this leaf? Okay, so FYI, there's 2 different leaves. And I didn't realize that until I started to try to glue these together. And I'm like, what is the deal? What am I not seeing? So that's what you see me here, like just staring at it, because I'm like, I have no idea why this isn't fitting. Anyway, I digress. So we have wildfires in the state of California. PG&E is a company that supplies a lot of the power in California. Not all of it. There are smaller electric companies like the one that my husband works for that supply certain counties. But basically PG&E has been sued over and over and over because of having faulty equipment, lines, or whatever. Somebody needs somebody to blame. PG&E gets sued when these massive wildfires happen and then it takes out a bunch of homes or something like that. So what PG&E did as a result is they said, fine, we are going to shut off the power. If it's really windy and we feel like it's necessary, we're turning off everybody's power in the area that it's windy. So last October, we had multiple what they call wind events or power something events. Basically, they shut off our power for days, like at a time, because they won't turn it back on until they can go into the area, evaluate if a tree has fallen on something, because if they turn the power off, and then there has been a wind event and a tree has fallen on a line and they turn the power back on, it could potentially catch the tree on fire if 2 phases are touching, and then it would cause a wildfire. So until they take their helicopters in the air, go over the areas that the wind event happened and ensure that no trees are laying on power lines, they will not turn the power back on. So last October was a nightmare. My kid, in fact, just the other day, she said, I think that I was out of school in 6th grade more than I was in school. Because between the power events that happened in October of last year and the pandemic, I seriously think she's right. Like, she was probably out of school more than she was in school. We had a full week where there was no power. So that kind of started us on this road to emergency preparedness. Okay, side note to the project. This is the mini paper pumpkin box. I took it outside. I filled a Stampin' spritzer with soft seafoam ink and alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and I spritzed the box. Then I brought it in and I dipped a aqua brush into shaded spruce ink and splattered it with that. So it's really hard to tell in the video because soft seafoam is so light, but this whole box has a really beautiful soft green hue. And then in addition to that, I added the shaded spruce splatters. So I love this box. It's super cute. Okay, back to the story. So that started our whole, like, we are not prepared. We did not have a generator. We had food that was going to spoil. We had multiple family members that were in a crisis. At that time, my grandpa was still alive and he was on hospice. So we were trying to figure out how to get at least a generator out to him in order to be able to run his hospital bed that he was in. He actually passed away on October 31st, but all the PG&E events were happening prior to that. And so that was a disaster. So long story short, we ended up buying multiple generators so that we could take one to him and he could have one in order to run the hospital bed. And then in addition to that, because his water was on a well, his well wouldn't work. So he didn't have water either. It was crazy. So that kind of started our whole journey of we really need to address this issue because we are completely ill prepared for any sort of natural disaster or just a situation like the PG&E thing where they decided to shut our power off for days at a time and then you lose all your food. It was really difficult. We had to haul food to my in-laws' house and store it in their freezer because they did have a generator until we could get one. And then everywhere sold out of generators because everybody was getting generators in the state of California. It was a nightmare. Sound familiar? Then the pandemic hits, and that happens in March. And again, food off shelves, can't get toilet paper, can't get paper towels, like craziness ensues. And I was like, I can't do this. This is too stressful for me. So if you can relate to me at all, I'm a planner. I'm a person who likes to plan things. I like to be prepared for things. I don't like curveballs, and I understand life is full of those, and I understand we can't plan everything. I do. But there are some things where we can alleviate some stress, and we can plan a few things so that we aren't left in a complete disastrous mess. So we got our generators. So that was step one. Then the pandemic hit, and I was like, okay, when everything gets back on the shelves and it gets to be normal again, we are stockpiling some stuff because I'm like, if this happens again, I don't want to be in this position where you're like down to one roll of toilet paper and you're like, oh, great. I mean, I get it. Like you can use a wash rag and wash it. There's options. And I understand that we are so blessed in this country to have all the amenities and luxuries that we have. And a lot of countries don't even have those. There's places in the world that don't even have running water. So I understand how blessed we are. And I get that we could live with less and on less. But I also understand that if we needed to make it for a few months without having to go to the store, I would really love for that to be a possibility. So anyway, now we're kind of on this journey. So I have reorganized our shed. My husband helped me. We pulled everything out. We cleaned it. We made new space out kind of where he keeps his boat and put like some stuff out there so that we would have more room in our shed. And we have now designated spaces for having backups of items. So I'm going to have backups of items like toilet paper, paper towels, laundry detergent, of course, food supplies. And that leads me to the discussion about the cow. So, well, steer, beef, however you want to say it. So we have a lot of friends who are ranchers, and we have made the decision that we are going to purchase a whole steer and have it slaughtered, and we will split the steer with our in-laws, I think is who we're going to split it with. And so we purchased a freezer. However, we aren't the only people who have this idea of stockpiling food in a freezer. So guess what you can't buy? Freezers. So you can't find them anywhere hardly. And when you do, it is like a crazy situation. So we purchased 2 freezers, one for us, one for my in-laws, and they will not be delivered until December. So even if, like, when we get it, we know it will not be the appropriate time of year for slaughtering and getting a cow. We'll probably have to wait till spring. But that being said, we are happy to wait till spring, and in the meantime, we can fill the freezer with other things. There's plenty of other stuff, you know, Costco runs and stuff like that. But if you get a half a beef, it will last a family of 3, probably over a year. And we'll get a lot of ground beef because my husband and child eat a ton of ground beef. Now, I actually don't eat a lot of red meat. I have genetically high cholesterol, which is under control, but I try to stay away from overdoing the red meat. We also have considered getting like half of a swine, so possibly half a pig, and freezing it. So that just helps our family, and 2, if we have family members in need, we will have plenty and not have to worry about if we have enough for ourselves and for them. So that is another component to this as well. So that is the long story about the emergency preparedness. If you have tips, tricks, videos that you've watched, if you yourself have started a journey of being prepared for an emergency, I would love to hear about it. You can comment below the video or link to videos that you might think would be helpful for us. We follow, or I follow, I should say, a YouTube channel called Our Tribe of Mini, and they do a lot of grocery hauls and emergency preparedness stuff. They're really cool people, and so we follow them, and I've learned a lot from them. The biggest thing is we don't really have a place where we could store anything other than frozen stuff, because where we live is hot. And we don't have basements in California, like as a general rule. That's actually something that is like a more of a Midwest East Coast thing. We don't really need basements here. In fact, probably they would consider basements to be somewhat of a hazard here because of earthquakes. So a basement is not somewhere you would want to be in an earthquake. And so anyway, all of that being said, I don't have a place that stays cool that I could store like excess fruits or vegetables, fresh foods. They would have to be frozen, which is fine. Okay, this finishes up the project. Isn't this gorgeous? I love how this turned out. This is probably one of my favorite projects I've made in a really long time. I have some other favorites, but I just absolutely love how this turned out. So the belly band just can slide right off, and then you have the ability to open the box. I think this would be absolutely gorgeous to give for a baby shower, bridal shower, put a gift card inside of it. You could, the options are endless. I'll probably use it for a birthday gift. My best friend's birthday is today, actually. So, and I just realized when I'm recording this, I did not send her a birthday card. What a friend I am. All right, so here is the video of my daughter that I promised last time, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day. Bye. Bye, cowpokes. Woohoo! How cool. How funny is that? It's going in front of a gas truck. How fun.